Dr. Sarah Chen stared at the quantum signal analyzer, her coffee growing cold beside her keyboard. The pattern pulsing across her screen defied everything she knew about physics. For 6 days straight, the signal had been repeating, a perfectly structured sequence of quantum fluctuations originating from somewhere beyond the Kuiper belt. Run it again, she muttered to herself, initiating another analysis cycle. The quantum listening post at Mauna Kea had picked up strange signals before, but nothing like this. This was ordered, intentional, and according to every measurement they could take, it shouldn't be possible. The secure line on her desk chirped, "Dr. Chen." Admiral James Rodriguez's voice came through, tense and clipped. "Are you seeing this? If you mean the impossible quantum signal that's maintaining coherence across interstellar distances, yes, I'm looking at it right now." Sarah pulled up another diagnostic window. "And it's getting stronger. We're picking up something else now. Check your lunar feeds." Sarah switched displays, and her breath caught in her throat. A massive object had appeared in lunar orbit, seemingly out of nowhere. It was geometric in nature, a complex polyhedron that seemed to shift and change as she watched, its surface rippling like liquid metal. "How long has it been there?" she asked, already knowing the answer. "That's the thing. It just appeared. No approach vector, no energy signature. One moment empty space. The next, the Admiral's voice trailed off. "It's a quantum displacement," Sarah said, the pieces clicking together in her mind. The signal wasn't a message. It was preparation. They were setting up quantum coordinates for whatever that is. Alarms began blaring throughout the facility. Sarah's screens filled with new data as sensors worldwide began picking up similar quantum fluctuations. Not in space this time, but on Earth itself. "Admiral, we need to evacuate. Now." Sarah was already initiating emergency protocols, her fingers flying across the keyboard. "These readings match what we saw before the lunar object appeared. Something's coming. The Global Defense Council is convening in Geneva. I need you there, Dr. Chen. You're the only one who might understand what we're dealing with." Sarah grabbed her tablet and emergency bag, already moving toward the exit. "With all due respect, Admiral, I don't think anyone understands what we're dealing with. But I know this. That signal isn't just impossible, it's dangerous. It's changing the quantum fabric of space around Earth. And whatever put that object in lunar orbit, they're not done yet." 12 hours later, Sarah stood before the hastily assembled Global Defense Council, trying to explain the unexplainable. The massive screens behind her showed real-time feeds of the lunar object, which had begun to pulse with internal light. The quantum signatures we're detecting suggest technology far beyond our current understanding, she explained, pointing to the data streams. "They're manipulating space-time at the quantum level with precision we can barely measure, let alone replicate. But here's the concerning part. The signals we're detecting on Earth. They're responses. Something down here is talking back." The room erupted in concerned murmurs. Council President Helena Martinez raised her hand for silence. "Are you suggesting there's already an alien presence on Earth?" "No," Sarah replied, pulling up new data. "I'm suggesting that something has been here all along. The quantum frequencies we're detecting are coming from multiple locations, ancient sites, deep ocean trenches, mountain ranges. Whatever these signals are activating, they've been waiting." A junior officer burst into the chamber, face pale. "Madam President, we're detecting massive energy spikes from the lunar object. It's changing." The screens showed the geometric form beginning to unfold like some impossible origami, its surfaces splitting and reforming into something new. As they watched, smaller objects began emerging from its core, ships, their designs as alien as the mother craft that birthed them. "They're coming," Sarah whispered, watching the alien fleet take formation. "And thanks to those quantum signals, they know exactly where to find whatever they left here." The first attacks began 3 hours later. The alien ships didn't target military installations or population centers. Instead, they struck specific locations across the globe, sites corresponding to the quantum signals. Whatever they were looking for, they were determined to retrieve it. Humanity's first shots in the war weren't fired from missile silos or fighter jets, but from hastily modified quantum sensors, trying desperately to disrupt the signals that seemed to be guiding the alien forces. It wasn't much, but it was a start. As Sarah worked through the night with a global team of scientists, trying to understand and counter the alien quantum technology, she couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. The real question wasn't why they were here now. It was why they had left something here in the first place, and what would happen when they finally found it. The war for Earth had begun, not with a diplomatic failure or a show of force, but with a quantum whisper that had been waiting to be heard since before humanity had learned to write. And somewhere in the numbers and patterns flooding her screens, Sarah knew, lay the key to humanity's survival. The excavation site in the Atacama Desert looked like an anthill that had been kicked over. Hundreds of personnel in environmental suits scurried around the massive pit, their headlamps creating a dance of light in the pre-dawn darkness. Dr. Sarah Chen stood at the edge, watching as they uncovered what she had begun calling the architecture. "It's beautiful, in a terrifying sort of way," Captain Maya Patel said, joining her at the rim. The Indian Special Forces officer had been assigned to the newly formed Earth Defense Initiative, EDI, as head of security for the excavation. Below them, the alien structure stretched nearly a kilometer into the Earth, its metallic surface covered in flowing patterns that seemed to move when viewed directly. It had been dormant for millennia until the quantum signals awakened it 3 weeks ago. "Any response from the others?" Sarah asked, checking her tablet's secure feed. Similar sites had been discovered in the Mariana Trench, the Siberian permafrost, and deep beneath the Sahara. "The Siberian team reports their structure is growing," Maya replied, her voice tight, "rebuilding itself using surrounding materials. The Chinese government is threatening to use nuclear weapons if it can't be contained." Sarah shook her head. "That would only make it worse. These structures aren't just machines. They're quantum-entangled nodes in a network we barely understand. Damaging one could have cascading effects across all of them." Her tablet chimed with an urgent alert. Dr. James Wilson, her colleague working on alien tech reverse engineering, had sent new data. Sarah's eyes widened as she read. "Maya, get your team ready. We need to evacuate. Now." "What is it?" "The patterns we've been seeing on the structures. They're not decorative. They're instructions being transmitted through quantum entanglement. These sites aren't just artifacts." Sarah turned to face the captain, her expression grave. "They're assembly plants." Above them, the alien fleet maintained its position in high orbit, having ceased their initial attacks once the ground sites activated. They were waiting for something. 12 hours later, in the EDI's underground command center beneath Geneva, Sarah presented her findings to the global leadership. "The alien technology operates on principles we're just beginning to grasp," she explained, projecting a holographic model of the quantum network. "They're not just manipulating matter. They're rewriting the quantum states of entire regions of spacetime. The structures we found aren't their technology. They're blueprints for creating it." "Creating what exactly?" General Rodriguez asked, his hologram flickering slightly. "Everything. Weapons, ships, possibly even troops. They seeded Earth with these quantum factories thousands of years ago, waiting for the right moment to activate them. And now," Sarah gestured to live feeds from the sites, where the alien structures were rapidly evolving, consuming raw materials from their surroundings to fuel their growth. "We've managed to develop countermeasures," Dr. Wilson added, joining the briefing. "Quantum field disruptors that can temporarily interfere with their systems, but it's like trying to stop a tsunami with a sandcastle." "Then we need a bigger castle," Maya interjected. She had been studying tactical reports from skirmishes with alien scout ships. "The structures have to draw power from somewhere. If we can identify their energy source." "Already working on it," Sarah said, pulling up new data. The quantum entanglement network requires massive amounts of energy to maintain coherence. They're drawing it from here. She highlighted a point deep within the Earth's crust. The Earth's magnetic field. Wilson breathed. They're tapping into it somehow, using it to power their quantum network. Which means we might have a chance, Sarah continued. If we can create a strong enough electromagnetic pulse, tuned to the right quantum frequencies, we could disrupt their entire network, Maya finished. But the power requirements would be enormous. And we'd risk disrupting our own power grid in the process, General Rodriguez warned. Better than the alternative, Sarah replied, showing projections of the structure's growth rate. At their current pace of development, these quantum factories will reach critical mass in less than 72 hours. After that, they'll have everything they need to begin mass-producing whatever they were designed to create. The command center erupted in urgent discussions as military and scientific leaders debated their options. Sarah turned to Maya, speaking quietly. There's something else. The quantum patterns we're detecting. They're not just instructions for building weapons. They're changing the fundamental properties of space around the sites. I think. She hesitated, then continued. I think they're trying to transform Earth itself into something else. Something that isn't meant for us to survive in. Maya's expression hardened. Then we better make sure that doesn't happen. What do you need? Access to every power plant, fusion reactor, and energy source we can get our hands on. And Sarah managed a grim smile. A really big electromagnet. As the global leadership argued over strategies, Sarah's team began working on what they called Project Blackout, a desperate plan to create the largest coordinated electromagnetic pulse in human history. They had 3 days to either save the Earth or watch it be transformed into something unrecognizable. Above them, the alien fleet continued its silent vigil, waiting for their ancient seeds to bear fruit. But humanity had no intention of being harvested. The massive electromagnetic pulse generator hummed beneath the Martian surface, its coils extending deep into the planet's iron-rich core. Sarah Chen watched the power readings climb on her heads-up display, trying to ignore the sweat beating inside her pressure suit. They would only get one shot at this. All stations, report status. Maya's voice crackled through the comm. The captain had been promoted to colonel following her successful coordination of Earth's defensive measures. Generator 1 at 80% capacity, Sarah responded, checking the quantum field metrics. Electromagnetic containment holding steady. Similar reports came in from the other 4 generators positioned strategically across Mars. Project Blackout had evolved into something far more ambitious than their original Earth-based plan. Instead of trying to protect one planet, they were going to turn another into a weapon. Alien fleet approaching Mars orbital space, announced General Rodriguez from the command center buried deep within Olympus Mons. 30 minutes until they're within range. The enemy had taken the bait. After humanity's forces made a strategic withdrawal from Earth, appearing to abandon the quantum sites, the alien fleet had finally moved to pursue. What they didn't know was that Earth's apparent retreat had been cover for the largest engineering project in human history. Dr. Wilson, status of the quantum lures? Sarah asked, moving through the underground facility toward the control center. Operating within parameters, James replied. The artificial quantum signatures we're broadcasting match the Earth sites perfectly. As far as they can tell, we try to establish new production facilities on Mars. Sarah allowed herself a grim smile. The plan was insane, but it was working. They had taken everything they'd learned about the alien quantum technology and turned it against them. Mars, with its strong magnetic field and iron core, had proved the perfect platform for their trap. Multiple quantum fluctuations detected, announced the sensor officer. They're beginning their standard site activation sequence. Just like we predicted, Sarah said, reaching the control center. The massive displays showed the alien fleet moving into position, their geometric ships arranging themselves in complex patterns around Mars. They think they're activating more of their quantum factories. Instead, 20 minutes to optimal range, Maya reported. All defense platforms are armed and ready. The weeks following their withdrawal from Earth had seen the greatest technological leap in human history, combining their understanding of the alien quantum technology with humanity's own innovations. They had developed weapons that could actually hurt the enemy. First wave of alien scout ships entering maximum engagement range, announced tactical. Launch interceptors. General Rodriguez ordered. Let's make this look good. Human ships emerged from hiding spots across Mars' orbital space, engaging the alien scouts in a series of lightning-fast skirmishes. It was a carefully choreographed dance, designed to draw the main fleet closer while appearing to defend the non-existent quantum sites. Enemy fleet accelerating. Tactical reported. They're taking the bait. Sarah watched the power readings from the electromagnetic generators continue to climb. The alien ships were now arranged in their standard activation formation, preparing to send their quantum signals into Mars' surface. 10 minutes to full power, she announced. Once we initiate, we'll have a 30-second window before their quantum fields can adapt. That's all we'll need, Maya said confidently. All ships, prepare for Phase 2. The alien fleet, now fully committed to their standard activation procedure, began broadcasting their quantum signals. But instead of finding dormant factories waiting to be awakened, those signals encountered something else entirely. They're locked in, Sarah announced as the readings spiked. Initiating quantum resonance loop. Now. The trap was sprung. The generators deep within Mars roared to life, creating an electromagnetic pulse of unprecedented magnitude. But this was no ordinary EMP. It was precisely tuned to the quantum frequencies the aliens themselves were broadcasting. The effect was devastating. The alien ships, caught in their own quantum network, found their signals reflected and amplified back at them through Mars' magnetic field. Their geometric forms began to distort as the quantum fields they relied on turned against them. All ships, execute attack pattern Delta, Maya ordered. Hit them while their fields are destabilized. Human vessels surged forward, their new quantum-disrupting weapons tearing into the now vulnerable alien ships. The space around Mars erupted in battle as humanity launched its first coordinated offensive of the war. But the aliens weren't defeated yet. As their front lines crumbled, the larger ships in the fleet began to adapt, their forms shifting into new configurations. Energy spike detected. Tactical shouted. They're attempting to quantum tunnel out of the trap. Not this time, Sarah muttered, initiating the final phase of their plan. The electromagnetic generators switched to a rotating frequency pattern she had derived from studying the alien signals. Let's see how they handle a little quantum uncertainty. The generators pulsed in sequence, creating a cascading wave of electromagnetic energy that rippled through space. The alien ships, trying to quantum tunnel to safety, found themselves caught in a state of quantum flux, unable to fully materialize or retreat. All ships, concentrate fire on their command vessel, General Rodriguez ordered. Everything we've got. The combined firepower of humanity's fleet, enhanced by their understanding of quantum physics, struck the alien flagship. For a moment, it seemed to hold, then its quantum field collapsed completely, and the massive ship broke apart in a spectacular display of light and energy. The remaining alien vessels, their quantum network disrupted, and their command structure in chaos, began to retreat. But they wouldn't get far. Secondary electromagnetic generators hidden in Mars' moons activated, creating a quantum containment field around the entire battle space. Begin mop-up operations, Maya ordered. Don't let any of them escape. We need to study their technology. As the battle wound down, Sarah stared at the tactical display, hardly believing their plan had worked. They had just won humanity's first major victory against an enemy that had been preparing to conquer Earth for thousands of years. But in the back of her mind, a worry gnawed at her. The alien fleet they had just engaged was powerful, but it was clearly just an advance force. Somewhere out there, something much larger was waiting, and now they had revealed their best weapon. Dr. Chen, James called from his station. You need to see this. We're detecting new quantum signatures from beyond the Kuiper Belt. Sarah's blood ran cold. The real war was just beginning. Deep within the captured alien flagship, Sarah Chen stood before a pulsing quantum core, its crystalline structure defying conventional physics. 6 weeks had passed since the Battle of Mars, and humanity had learned more about quantum physics in that time than in all of previous history combined. "The encryption is breaking down," James announced from his workstation, surrounded by holographic displays showing cascading quantum states. Whatever they use to protect their systems, it's starting to fail without the main network to sustain it. Sarah nodded, watching as new data streamed across her augmented reality display. The alien technology was incredible, but it had a fundamental weakness. It relied heavily on quantum entanglement networks for even basic functions. Cut off from those networks, their systems began to degrade. "Colonel Patel," Sarah called over the secure comm. "I think we found something." Maya arrived minutes later, her uniform bearing the new insignia of the Combined Earth Defense Forces. The victory at Mars had united humanity like never before, as nations pooled their resources to prepare for what they all knew was coming. "Tell me you have good news," Maya said, studying the quantum core. "Long-range sensors are picking up massive disturbances at the edge of the solar system." "Better than good news," Sarah replied, projecting a complex diagram into the air between them. "We've decoded their quantum navigation systems. These ships don't just use quantum tunneling for FTL travel. They use it for everything. Every system, every weapon, every piece of technology is quantum entangled with their main network." "Which we disrupted at Mars," Maya said, beginning to understand. "Exactly. But here's the interesting part." Sarah manipulated the hologram, zooming in on a particular sequence. "Their quantum network isn't just for communication or control. It's holding them together." James joined them, adding his own data to the projection. "The aliens aren't just using quantum technology. They're quantum beings. Their physical forms are maintained by constant quantum coherence with their network. When we disrupted that coherence at Mars, we weren't just damaging their ships," Maya finished. "We were damaging them. And now we know why they seeded Earth with their quantum factories thousands of years ago." Sarah continued. "They weren't trying to transform Earth for invasion. They were trying to transform it into a quantum coherence amplifier, a booster for their own existence." The implications were staggering. They weren't fighting an alien invasion. They were fighting beings that existed in a fundamentally different quantum state than normal matter, beings that needed to transform entire planets to maintain their coherence in our universe. "The disturbances we're detecting," Maya said slowly. "That's their main fleet, isn't it? Coming to finish what the advance force started." Sarah nodded grimly. "And it's bigger than anything we've seen before. Thousands of ships, maybe more. Our Mars strategy won't work against a fleet that size." "Then what do you suggest?" Sarah shared a look with James before answering. "Something incredibly dangerous. We've learned enough about their quantum technology to attempt something they'd never expect, because no purely quantum being would risk it." She pulled up new schematics, showing modifications to their electromagnetic pulse generators. "Instead of disrupting their quantum coherence, we're going to hijack it, use their own network against them on a massive scale." "You're talking about accessing their quantum network?" Maya asked incredulously. "The same network that maintains their existence." "More than accessing it," James said. "We're going to inject our own quantum signals into their network. If we can't beat them with force, we'll beat them with information." The plan took shape over the next hours as more experts were brought in. They would modify the captured alien quantum core, using it to gain access to the enemy's network. But instead of simply disrupting it, they would introduce a new kind of quantum signal, one based on human consciousness itself. Their quantum nature is both their greatest strength and their greatest weakness, Sarah explained to the assembled military leadership. They can't comprehend existence outside of quantum coherence. So we'll show them what that means. The preparation was intense. Volunteers were needed to have their neural patterns quantum encoded, a process that had never been attempted before. Sarah, James, and several other scientists offered themselves as the test subjects. The risk of neural damage is significant, Sarah admitted as they made final adjustments to the quantum interface. But if this works, we'll be able to communicate with them on their own level. Make them understand that their need for quantum coherence doesn't justify destroying other forms of life. Maya watched from the control room as Sarah and the others were connected to the modified quantum core. "This is either the bravest or craziest thing I've ever seen," she commented. "Why not both?" Sarah replied with a tight smile. "Quantum physics is all about existing in multiple states simultaneously, after all." The alien fleet was now visible to conventional sensors, a vast armada of geometric shapes distorting space itself as they approach. They had less than 24 hours before the fleet would be in range of Earth. "Beginning quantum consciousness upload," James announced, his voice already taking on a strange, distant quality as the interface activated. Sarah felt her mind expanding, her consciousness stretching across quantum states she had never imagined possible. Through the alien network, she could sense the vast fleet approaching, could feel their singular purpose, their desperate need to maintain coherence in a universe that was fundamentally hostile to their form of existence. But she could also feel something else, something the aliens had never expected: the chaotic, beautiful, quantum uncertainty of human consciousness reaching out to touch their ordered world. The battle for humanity's survival would not be fought with weapons, but with understanding. And in the quantum realm where thought and reality intersected, humanity was about to demonstrate that consciousness itself could be the greatest force in the universe. As her mind merged with the quantum network, Sarah's last coherent thought was a message to Maya. "Whatever happens, don't let them shut down the interface. We're about to show them what humanity really is." The final confrontation was about to begin, not in physical space, but in the quantum realm where the very nature of existence was about to be challenged by a species that refused to be transformed.